anything.
The horror check is just you want an 11 or better.
Oh no, I mean you said the second roll because that was a 2 on the horror check. You said I had to make another check, so I went ahead and rolled.
So just to be clear, Jeannie finding out she's some sort of weird robot is fine, but finding out her...
No, it's not fine. Jeannie's up the river denial. It's not fine.
Roll me percentile.
Oh. That never goes well for me. The last time you had me roll percentile, we were lost at sea for like 6 months. 37.
Okay.
Jeannie, roll up a new character.
You start work that night, or do you wait till the next day?
I'll start... I mean, I'll stay up with Ekon. And...
Ekon isn't sleeping tonight.
Yeah. Vincent, Victor. Whatever his alias is tonight.
And then over the course of the next day, you guys take turns keeping watch down there while Jeannie works?
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to force Ekon to not be here watching over his brother. Like, you guys are going to have to literally, like, send him to bed.
Revert during the day?
Will we do what during the day?
Do I revert during the day?
No, you are a monster through the fullness of full tide.
Oh, wow, that's different from last time.
But yeah, if nobody stops him, Ekon will stay up all night and all the next day.
Jeannie.
Yeah.
On the second day, as you're doing some of this work, you get to the point where it's the silence that gets you. Because eventually Edmont wears himself out and kind of just hangs slack from the restraints. Just breathing... Peacefully might be the wrong word, but you can't see him because you still have the sheets up. You can hear him, and the silence where a moment ago was growling and slavering. And you realize, like it hits you all at once, that noise, that slavering noise, was literally your cousin's mouth generating saliva because the thought of ripping you limb from limb and devouring your flesh was so appealing to him. And you have to stop work and leave immediately.
Okay.
For the duration of the full tide, you have the fear condition. Edmont is the source of your fear, and you must use every action you can to put space in between you and him.
I mean, I just have to walk in the woods and not stop walking
Once
for
you
3
get
days?
out of the cellar, you kind of calm down. But the thought of going back into that cellar, or even the basement of the manor house, which you now know is connected, fills you with dread, and you are unable to bring yourself to do it. You cannot complete this work, and I don't think any of the other Veritas house members have the skill to do it.
So is this horror check going to be like a permanent thing for Jeannie, where every time it's a full
Guess
time?
we'll find out, won't we? It'll be fun for everyone.
I mean, Victor's got cartography tools, if that helps.
You could draw a map of all the places Jeannie's too afraid to go now. So you got the bracing work done for this wall that you were going to set a door frame into. But you hadn't yet completed the work. I'm picturing like 2 doors back to back, like adjoining motel rooms. Is that what you were picturing as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably not aligned straight.
Basically, just to make it, even if he like does teleport in between there's not like enough room for him to occupy.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I'm picturing is the bars are here. There's space between that like is too far for him to reach the wall, but not so far away that he could fit in the space.
Okay. This is definitely within your capabilities to build, but doing it while Edmont is down there in the fullness of his transformation, you simply cannot face it.
It's a no-no.
If only we had a carpenter.
Ekon, you become exhausted, sitting vigil for the 3 days if nobody stops you. But there are no other incidents. Evie, you get yelled at the following day because Tenny's friend refuses to speak with her or even be with her anymore. When he sees her coming, he runs very quickly the opposite direction. And she blames you for basically chasing off the only friend she's made in the village.
Okay, well, I need to have a conversation with her about this.
How does that conversation go?
Okay, how did you get in there?
I found the secret stone. It's in the basement. Any of you could have found it at any time.
And why did you go in there?
Why didn't you tell me about Edmont?
You didn't need to know.
You don't tell me anything.
Penny, do you understand what could have happened in there?
You're just like Ruby. You're worse than Ruby.
Penny,
you should have told me. Edmont's my favorite. He's my favorite cousin, and I love him best. And I knew he wasn't going to hurt me, and my friend didn't believe me. And now you chased him off, and now I don't have anybody. I can't trust you. I can't trust Edmont. And she's starting to break down into tears as she's dressing you down.
Penny, listen to me, please. Do you know how Edmont would feel if he had hurt you?
She's insistent that he wouldn't have.
Penny, you need to understand something. When he is like that, he cannot control himself. He loves you, but he cannot control himself in that state. Do you understand?
She is insistent that Edmont would not hurt her.
Penny, if you go into that room again, we cannot protect you. Do you understand?
She rolls her eyes and says, yes, fine, I understand.
I don't believe her.
I wouldn't either.
Penny, you must never go into that room ever again.
Well, why don't you just chain me up too, since that's what we do now? When something happens we don't like, we just chain people up.
It was Edmont's idea to do this, to make sure that he didn't hurt any of us.
And no matter how reasonable you sound, it is just not possible to convince this 10-year-old child. But eventually you do get her to just, yeah, whatever, fine, you're right, I'm wrong, whatever you say. That's as most you're going to get out of her with this course of action.
And Evie's just like, God, I wasn't like this, was I?
Well, to be clear, none of your cousins were ever chained up in your basement, so it's kind of a not really applicable comparison.
Not a question.
So from now on, every time there's a full tide, at night, my familiar is watching Tenny at all times.
Do you tell her that?
Yes.
Okay.
Break question.
Sure.
So, given Victor's knowledge of traps and stuff like that, can he disable the switch to basically break the door permanently?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He will do that.
So are you disabling one mechanism or both?
Both the mechanisms to unlock the secret door.
Now, is the idea to permanently close off this route, or are you going to leave it in a state where you can repair it later if you need to make use of it?
I guess he'll leave it where he can repair it later if he needs to.
The danger of that is if you leave it in that state, anybody who knows of the passage that has your knowledge would also be able to repair it without your knowledge.
Does Tenny have my knowledge?
You're assuming not, but, I mean, Tenny has proven herself capable of things that you didn't realize.
Does anyone in the village have this knowledge?
You guys haven't even completed the proper census of the village yet. You don't know how many people you have, let alone what all they know.
Alright, it's going to be broken permanently, and we'll just build a new one if we need to.
You got it. So yeah, you disable the mechanisms. You can even, once the full tide is over and Edmont is not nearby anymore, you could probably even safely pull out the bracing boards in the tunnel to make it unsafe. So if anybody were to traverse it, they risk getting buried in there. It might collapse on top of them.
Can we set it to where it will collapse?
Well, that's just going to kill Tenny.
Can we make it into a trap?
That sounds like a Tenny problem.
I mean, what I'm saying is you could safely collapse it and make it unpassable for now.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Oh. That's
Edmont, you come out of the other side of the full tide, and this time you retain hazy memories of what happened and the conflicts, and your family was all down there arguing and fighting and yelling at each other, and nothing. You didn't do anything awful when Genie can't go down to release you on the 4th day. Somebody else has to go down and unlock you. But other than that extremely deep hunger and thirst that you feel, you're no worse for wear.
he had a nice little doggy bed chained to the wall.
Ekon is barely able to keep his eyes open when he lets you out.
Brother, don't kill yourself on my account.
I'm fine. Air gives me all the rest I need.
Victor will wander
Evident-
at breakfast.
Evidently not. Go to bed.
So over the course of the next couple days following that, Genie is able to finish the construction. You guys collapse the tunnel. Victor disables the opening mechanisms.
And that should be enough time for training and a bag of holding?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I now am proficient in acrobatics, and you no longer have to teach me that.
Okay. And when Edmont is like feeling better and like back into his full command of his senses, Evie will ask him to tell Tenny not to come down there because she doesn't understand. She's only going to listen to you. You have to tell her that she can't go in there because she doesn't believe me.
I can try, but here's the problem. It is she like you know how she was with the rabbits. You know how she was with she's not going to listen even to me in that regard. She's going to think that, oh, it's okay. Edmont won't hurt me. Even if he says he will, I don't see how he could hurt me.
Both of you, Evie and Edmont, make an insight check.
Oh, I rolled a 1.
Okay.
But that's a 9 if it matters.
9's still pretty low.
11.
11?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and continue.
Oh, 12. I'm sorry, 12.
12? With a 12, you're explaining why... Because Evie's thought is, okay, somebody that Tenny trusts needs to sit down and explain the situation, and apparently she trusts you best, so you're the guy to take care of it. You have a little more insight into the situation. You were one of her guardians back in Brennany. That was the task assigned to you. You've spent more time with her in that environment than anybody else has. And she's very headstrong, and she gets ideas into her head and then can't let them go. You're trying to explain this to your cousin, and as you do, the sickening idea fills your head that if you could make Tenny not trust you and not love you, if you were cruel to her or mean to her, it's like when Arya Stark has to throw stones at her direwolf so the queen doesn't slaughter it. If you pushed her away, she would no longer want to come down during the full tide.
I'll mention that and say, I don't want to have to make that decision. Because the fact of the matter is, I care for Tenny, and as do you.
The thing is, if she starts to feel like she can't trust you, she's probably just going to run away.
Exactly. I can't do either thing.
Guys,
If I could make a suggestion...
What is Ekon's suggestion?
Tenny's 10. I think it's time you start instructing her on how to build a house relic and master magic. Give her something else to occupy her time.
Give her work, so that'll make us real popular. I mean, you're not wrong. I understand.
Why
Who's
don't
the
we
best
just have
qualified
Tenny
teacher
stand guard
then?
duty one day with us? If Tenny wants to see Edmund, she can stand guard duty with us.
I don't remember much of what happened when I was down there, but I remember her getting very close. I could smell her.
Oh, she wanted
Smell her
to pet the dog.
right in front of me.
Yeah, no, she definitely wanted to pet you. But I think it's because she doesn't fully understand the situation. If she's exposed to it more, then she might understand. But us just telling her, it's not going to do any good.
Well, I am not going down there anymore. You're on your own. Good job.
I don't think anyone else can finish building it, Jeannie.
I mean, I can do that when he's not down there. I'm not going down there when he's down there.
Okay. Okay, we won't ask that of you then. I can take double shifts. It's fine.
No, brother.
Hey, Jeannie, you know who else would go down there? Ruby. Do you want to be like Ruby?
That doesn't work on me. Good try, though.
Can I feel like I have to absolve myself of some of what just happened. Because McDohl sounds very sad about this situation he was just put in. And it got real bad. It got bad for everybody involved.
Yeah.
So I would like to read a comment that he sent to me on March 14th.
2021 or 2022. Yeah.
said,
yeah, here we go. Fuck me up, fam, right?
Shifting to being a bastard the next time the full moon comes out. If Werewolf Stats has access to my class features, then he could totally teleport out of a poorly lit giggle dungeon.
Yeah.
So, you just got everything you wanted. I just want everybody to make sure that you're... It was,
yeah, no,
this was your plan all along.
Yeah, no, yep. I called it.
Yeah, you're a monster.
I had no intention of putting Tenny in harm's way until receiving that message. And then I'm like, all right, McDohl wants to play.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go, Brick Road.
So you guys, once again, find yourself in a position where you're well rested, you're well provisioned. There are no fires in the village. You have a more solidified chain of command now. And the time has come to see to this situation where this, what once was a stream bisecting the village, is now essentially just a dry patch that gets muddy and puddles up when it rains. Like, most days you just have this bridge, this partially collapsed stone structure sitting in the middle of the village because there's no stream that flows. Having traveled up the stream for a little while, you can tell that there's no natural reason that it should be completely dried up. You're pretty sure if you follow the stream to its source, you've had men report that it must have been dammed up, but nobody's gone out to investigate specifically yet. This stream does not feed your water or your village in terms of being a water supply. It's not a necessity in that regard. You have other sources of water. But if you had a strong flowing stream in the village, it would open up primarily irrigation options. You would be able to set more crops. Perhaps clear out enough forest and have enough watershed for a pasture. And also, and tell me if I'm presuming too much, Evie, but somebody's just dammed up your stream. So,
I mean, I guess Ruby would take care of it. So I guess I have to too.
I mean, I just want the stream because Jeannie is like, I think you would be like, yes, let's go take care of the stream, because Jeannie would not leave you alone because she wants to put like a water wheel, so she
she's got like
so she can make like a water hammer to help her smith things.
She's got like 6 different blueprints for different water wheels.
Okay.
Drawn up already.
One of them's just like a dragon made out of water.
You know what Jeannie draws in the margins of her journal is her business.
So the day
So
comes
make it clear
you all are going to set out.
Yeah.
What are you making clear?
While we're traveling along, every couple hours, he was like, "Guys, I'm not Ruby, right?"
Only Ruby would ask that.
I'm going to slap you in the back of your head, Victor. It's okay. Leave her alone.
No, Ruby could use the scrying pool.
Oh,
I like Ruby.
Yeah, you're not Ruby. You're worse.
Also, Ruby's boots were never muddy.
Ruby had people to go out and check the water for her.
Those people are us.
Yeah. So, like, you're worse, Ruby.
That's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
She knew which side of the plate the salad fork
Can
went
we
on.
not, brother and cousins, can we please not continue to dunk on our Duchess cousin?
I only do this with the most love.
You seem pretty damn cruel about it.
Listen, Evie is basically the only person that Jeannie actually unequivocally loves.
Listen, you tried to eat your 10-year-old cousin. You don't get to call people cruel.
I don't know.
Evie, I see bits of my older cousin in you, but I actually rather liked Ruby, so I don't think that that's a bad thing.
It's not. Yeah, it's fine. It's like you're just. The only reason we're bothering you with this is because it bothers you. Don't let it bother you. You're doing fine.
Anyway, so on your left, you'll see the dry riverbed, and ahead of us, there's some puddles, so let's continue down this road, shall we?
Following... I mean, it's really easy to follow the stream bed. It looks like it's been dry for some time, at least a couple of seasons now, to the point where plant life is starting to regrow inside of it. But you can see on either side of the dry bed where there are stones and sediment build up. Another season or two, and it would be impossible to tell there's even a stream here. But you follow it back to where it would join a larger tributary, something you could call a river in earnest. That riverbed is also dried up. This is about as far afield as your scouts and your men have gone in search of game and logs and wood steel and things. This is what they had seen that caused them to report back that the river's been dammed up. And you can immediately see why. There's no reason this whole riverbed should be this dry. You've had some heavy rains recently, and you can see the rain build up, just slowly trickling down in a muddy puddle. Following this stream, you start heading up in elevation, and you start leaving the woods behind you. So you're going a good couple days at least so far in the opposite direction that you went on your last adventure. And long before you find the source of the river, you see it snaking up the foothills and disappearing into a wall of mist.
What do you think, guys? Is that good mist or bad mist?
Not worse than Ruby, right?
Everybody give me a perception check except Evie because she seems preoccupied.
You're only worst at Ruby at spellcasting.
Perception?
Perception.
13.
22.
22.
23.
15.
Okay. So pretty much all of you, if you were to follow this dry riverbed, you'd be going up into this foothill. So the river would have originally flowed down the hill. But at the crest of the hill, the mist thickens, and you can't see beyond it. This doesn't surprise you that much, because you've ascertained that you have this wall of mist surrounding all of your land, what you've been calling New Warren. About maybe 100 to 150 yards away, down the hill, off to your left, if you're coming up the riverbed, there's a rocky outcropping. And you see a hint, a trickle of a black coil of smoke coming up from behind it, indicative of a small fire.
Well, let's go that way.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing good ever happens when we walk into mist.
We're not
We're
walking
supposed
into
to-
mist.
Aren't
we're
we supposed to
walking into
enter
the
the
fire.
mist at like a specific time and place that
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if our options are walk into the mist or check this other thing out, let's do that.
Yeah.
To the other thing, then, I guess.
Okay. Going up to check the camp, or you presume to be the campfire on the other side of this rocky outcropping. You get within about 100 feet or so, and you have they have the high ground above you, whoever they turn out to be. And indeed, when you get that close, you hear a voice ring out from the rocks, calling out, "We've got the beat on you. State your business." Looking up in that direction, you don't see anybody, but that's definitely where the voice came from. You can surmise there's a man hiding just on the other side of the rocks.
Evie?
We're coming to investigate why this river is dammed up. Who are you?
We asked first, and we're the ones with the weapons. State your name, or be gone your way.
Someone else about to say something.
Victor glances at Evie and says, "Take a different approach." And he'll take a step forward and say, "My name is Vincent. I come here on behalf of the Duchess Evelyn to investigate the dam."
The Duchess Evelyn?
Yeah, the town down below, and he'll point back towards where they came from.
And there's silence for a few moments. Just hangs in the air with no response. Then the man calls back in the same voice. "Is that the Duchess whose lot slayed the Celtostravi?"
That would be the one.
"For God's sake, we don't have any weapons."
Do you mind if we come up there? Perhaps we can talk.
There's little enough food. We'll share what we have.
Victor will glance back and start walking up.
Follow along with them.
So you're following this little footpath that would have been invisible from where you were down below. The only reason you know it's here is because you started to approach the smoke. So it would be kind of like a secret little footpath going up to what you find to be this nice little bolt hole on the other side of this rocky outcropping. Not quite enough to be called a cave, but more or less invisible from down below, and above, up in the dry riverbed area, there's nothing but the mists. And there are 3 dirty and disheveled men camping there. All of them have distanced themselves from the heavy crossbows that they absolutely were not holding just a minute ago.
Clearly not. No reason to.
But
Yeah, right.
they do have 2 scrawny and skinned hares roasting over their small campfire.
You gentlemen look a little bit worse for wear. Are you travelers by chance?
One of them, all 3 of them, doff their caps as they see Evie especially. Says, "Please forgive my companion's harsh language, my lords. It's dangerous country. We meant nothing by it."
That's understandable. May I present to you the Duchess Evelyn? And he'll point to Evie. You gentlemen seem like you might use better accommodations if you'd like to venture back to our city when you're done here.
Hang on. Who are you and why are you here?
They give their names. There's 3 men. One is a middle-aged man, and he has deep, sunken eyes. Something's wearing on this man very heavily. He's the one turning the hairs over the spit. The other 2 men are younger, and you presume one of the 2 of them is the one who was shouting at you a moment ago. The eldest of the men, his name is Dox. The other 2 introduce themselves as Clarence and Selshin.
We come in peace. State your business in these lands.
And they exchange glances. What's your passive insight? Actually, what's everybody's passive insight? Can anybody beat a 15?
Nope. My passive insight is 18.
17.
10.
17.
Not 15. 14.
Ekon.
Well,
Evie's asking
Evie.
these questions.
Just 18.
Evie also beats a 15?
Evie have
Yeah.
18.
Oh, okay. You're asking questions about who they are and what they're doing here. The answers they give you are that they're just travelers, they're just passing through. They're happy to make recompense for the hair they took from you, if need be. But you definitely get the sense that there's more to it. These men probably don't mean you or yours any harm, but there's more to their story. They're not just vagrants camping out on your hillside.
These
And
lands are
Ekon
quite
just
out of
kind
the
of
way.
Shakes his
Good.
head no at Evie when they say that.
These lands are quite out of the way. How is it you came to be all the way out here? You aren't just passing through.
They exchange glances again. The old man docks, the one turning the hair. It's a long story.
We've got time.
Gentlemen, if I may, it's easier if you tell us the truth. My companions here can force you, and nobody wants that.
Dox tells the two younger men to sit down, take a load off. Dox tells you that you stand on the borders of the lands of the Squelcher Lord. And when he says the Squelcher Lord, the other two men both spit on the ground.
We have not heard of him before.
You have, actually.
Well,
The dying man in
me.
the tree.
oh.
Yep.
His proper name is Lord Randus, but nobody calls him
Brandis,
that.
that's right.
Outside of his presence.
Yeah.
Dox tells the story about how he was vassal to the Squelcher Lord, who worked a meager plot of farmland. His family worked the land for generations under the noble who owned it, who was an old dowager and who never married, and she died at the age of 80 under perfectly natural circumstances. She died in her sleep with no heirs and no kin. So Dox and his two sons, who were not these men, his grown sons, who were, you presume, now dead, went to the Squelcher Lord to ask that the land be granted to him so that he may work it and profit on it, knowing that the Lord could just assign any of his nobility to rule over it, and he would end up working the land either way. But Dox made his case that he and his family know the land best. He'd been working it, his father worked it, his grandfather worked it. And Lord Randus, the Squelcher Lord, agreed. Gave him the land and his family. Rose them up in status. Over the course of the next season, while they were plowing the field, Dox found treasure in the field. His plow overturned a clump of stone. And when he went to move the stone, the earth underneath gave way. And he found a beautiful ivory mortar. Little bowl. Worth a lot of money, in his estimation. And he was going to make a gift of it to the Squelcher Lord. A gift in gratitude of being granted title and status and ownership of the land. His eldest son cautioned him against it. He said that if you brought this mortar to the Squelcher Lord and gave it to him as a gift, he would demand to know why you had not brought him the pestle. And said if we find a pestle in the field, we should make a gift of the pair of them together. But if you don't, he's only going to take offense. Dox didn't listen. He took the mortar to the Squelcher Lord, made a gift of it to him while he was delivering that season's homage, his 10% or whatever it was in taxation. And the Squelcher Lord dungeoned him up because he had not brought him the pestle. And he languished in the Squelcher Lord's dungeon. He doesn't know how long. A season, 6 months, a year. One day, his cruel jailer let him out, turned him out into the street in rags. And when he went back to his family's property, one of the Squelcher Lord's sycophant nobles was running it with a new family of servants. His own family had been displaced. And he doesn't know what happened to them. And when he asked about them, he learns that his son went to the Squelcher Lord to speak on his father's behalf, to try to overturn the offense. And the Squelcher Lord took such offense to that he marched both of his living sons into the mists as punishment. Gave their families' holdings to someone else. But he noticed that word of this beautiful mortar had made its way into the Squelcher Lord's treasury, nonetheless. And that is Doc's story. And you get the sense that he has told this story many times over the years. And good to their word, they share their roasted hare with all of you.
So did anybody ever find the pestle?
Dox was never given the opportunity to go back to his land and check. He couldn't tell you if the pestle was ever found.
So, from our estimation, is the territory of the Squelcher Lord within the territory that was granted to us?
It is not. All the men indicate that it is uphill beyond the mists. This would be outside of the jurisdiction given to you by King Azalin.
Okay, but we now know that there's a guy on the other side of the mist who is not very friendly.
Well, how did you get through the mist?
And they exchange glances, and one of them says, "I'm not keeping the Squelcher Lord's secrets." The other one agrees. All right, fuck him. And they look back at Dox. Dox nods, and he tells you the exact time and circumstances on which you can safely pass the mists. As long as you're walking the riverbed or alongside it, it can be passed at a certain time of day, as long as it's raining. And you will arrive in the Squelcher Lord's domain, or vice versa.
Do they sort of indicate that, or suggest from what they're saying, that the river is dammed on the other side of the mists?
They don't say anything about it. Do you ask them about it?
Yeah.
When you ask about the dam, Clarence kind of laughs cruelly, like a hurtful laugh. So there's a dam, all right. Is that why you've
What's
come?
so bad about that?
As a matter of fact, that is why we've come.
Sounds like there's a story behind that as well.
Clarence, you can see that there's a lot of pain on his face. He chokes down and coughs on a bit of gristle, spits it out at his feet. I held land. I too was one of the Squelcher Lord's vassals. Above Dox's station, though you'll find he's twice the man I am. But I had rich land, a vineyard along the riverbed. The Squelcher Lord built his fucking dam. It flooded me out. He gave me nothing in exchange. The other man, Stilshin, chuckles and says, "That's not necessarily true. At least he didn't dungeon you up."
Why did the Squelcher Lord build the dam? What was the purpose of it?
Irrigation. He can, instead of the water running uselessly through the mists and down the hills on the other side into Veritas territory, he can reroute it wherever he needs to go. He has an artificial lake behind his dam that he can use for irrigation.
Go ahead.
Is the Squelcher Lord? Do any of you know if he's a vassal of Ancelin Resks?
Stilshin, who seems to be the jester of the group, he smiles broadly. Says, "Are you kidding? The words, 'Azalin, our dear king,' are his favorite in the whole language."
You think Aslan would be sad if we redirected the water?
I mean, it kind of sounds like he's stealing our water, to be perfectly honest.
Victor, make an insight check.
I'm assuming a 10 doesn't do it, so that'd be an 18.
Did they turn it into an 18 with a psychic die?
Yeah.
You mentioned, do you think Azalin would mind if we rerouted the water? And you, for half a second, the two men glance up at Dox, just as Dox looks up to meet their gaze. And it only lasts for a moment. None of them say anything or otherwise react, but you catch them sharing a glance that your companions did not catch.
Victor will arch an eyebrow and docks.
And then Evie asks, she points out that this is technically our water. He's stealing our water, is that what she said?
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like.
Still, strictly speaking, the source is on his territory, is it not?
There were treaties back in our lands that said that you can't interrupt the natural flow of a river, that those downstream have rights to it as well as those up.
That is correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Aslan told us to make this land profitable, right?
If you can.
If we can. So if we redirect the water, will that help make it profitable?
There are like
We have crops to get watered. We have goats that need water now.
We have a whole vineyard down there.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that redirecting the stream would absolutely be something Aslan would want us to do, as per his own order.
Especially since there's ways to...
All of you can tell now that Clarence very clearly wants to say something. And he's looking for approval from his two companions. Back and forth.
Go ahead.
Is Clarence the one that they don't allow to talk?
Difficult to tell what their social
Like how
dynamic
we
is. You've only known the guys for a few minutes.
Like how we don't allow Victor to talk?
Well, Victor's going to scumbag his way into, saying, well, technically, Aslan wants us to take over all of Darkon to make it profitable when you think about it.
Clarence, fuck it, we're no friends of the Squelcher Lord. These lot ran out the Keltostravi. And he reaches over to his pack. And he pulls it open to show you what's inside. Genie, you recognize what it is immediately. As sticks of dynamite.
Genie stands immediately up and goes, "Where did you get that?"
He has probably 6 good sticks in here. The rest of you probably don't know what dynamite is, having not seen gunpowder wrapped up in a tube like that. But you see Genie get to her feet immediately and push back.
And I'm gonna try and hold Genie back.
If it's not just Genie, oh my god.
Genie, is this a good thing?
Paper cylinders?
I feel like
Scrolls?
Evie's probably spent enough time living with Genie that she probably has second-hand experience with dynamite. There's no way she hasn't seen it before. There just isn't.
Let's put it this way. Genie has never constructed or used dynamite. She would have learned about similar objects in her engineering school.
And
she had the same look on her face when she saw the cannon in the ruins, and the same look that she had when she was trying to dismantle that entire fucking engine on the gambling boat.
What do you tell these people about what's in the bag?
Which people? Like my people
Your
or those people
that don't know what dynamite is?
It's a candle that if you, I said essentially, and I'll point at it because they're holding up. That's a fuse. You light it with a match or flint and tinder. It runs down, and then a fireball happens. And I'll look at Ekon.
So Victor will grin at these gentlemen and say, "Were you planning to blow up that dam yourselves?"
Then they all exchange looks. You can tell that Dox is very indifferent about what is transpiring. Or at least is pretending like he is. Stilshin doesn't really appreciate that Clarence has spilled the beans, as it were. But Clarence says, "Yeah, we're gonna blow that dam sky high."
Where did you get that? Can you get more?
It sounds great. You want some company?
Clarence says that it's not likely because they had it off of a Vistani trader.
Genie pulls out her notebook, and then she makes a note to ask the Vistani that the next time a Vistani comes by to procure gunpowder.
We have a Vistani. We have Koyama. She might know.
Doc says that the fact that they had it off the Vistani leads him to believe that nothing will happen when they light these fuses. The Vistani are known liars and frauds. He thinks they just took Clarence's gold.
Do you want, if you don't mind, may I see one? I can tell you if it... Would I be able to identify if it's real?
The best way to do that would be to light a fuse.
Let's
That's
go
probably
find it.
not smart. Because depending on how...
Functionally, you're not going to know whether these things are duds or not until you light them and see what happens.
Well,
Do
we
they
could make
smell
our
like
own
gunpowder?
Oh yeah, but
They smell real.
I mean that could mean a lot of things. It doesn't
I-
necessarily mean that you're going to get an explosion big enough to bring down a dam.
I may have a suggestion. If you think these may not be real, what if we pay you for these sticks of what was it called, Genie? What are these called?
Dynamite.
Dynamite. If we buy this dynamite off you, how would that work?
If these were in Dunfoss, we'd have to call them dragon peckers.
No, Brick Road. I reject.
approve because Treble
I
Treble
rej-
disapproves.
I reject this. I reject it.
They're not going to sell you the dynamite because, I mean, it's easy to figure out why. I mean, just talking to these guys, they're all so bitter that the act of doing the thing as an act of vengeance and getting one over on the Squelcher Lord means as much to them as knowing that it was done. Like, they want to watch this happen.
Okay, so
Who's likely to stand against you when you go up to the dam and try and plant these dynamites?
What? Genie's going to start asking questions. What is the construction of the dam? Is it a wood structure? Is it a stone structure? How
It's-
big
Must
is
be
it?
wood if it's going to get burnt by fireballs.
It's a wood structure. And it looks like an oversized beaver dam. It's bridging a river much larger than any beaver could hope to construct.
Wait,
So,
wait.
is there any structures on the dam, or is anybody guarding the dam?
Genie, why don't
There
we
is a
just-
contingent of the Squelcher Lord's minions there at all times to protect the dam, yes.
So here's the problem, Ekon and Evie. If we blow the dam up, the water goes somewhere. The water, all that water that's pulled up, right, rushes down at one time.
What if we just blow up a little bit of the dam?
well, hang on.
We are going to have to... Victor has the right idea. We're going to have to bleed the water off before we take the dam down. Otherwise, our village will go...
Like in Frozen 2.
Yes, that well-known tale from Brennanine, Frozen 2.
Don't dams usually have spillways for when there's torrential rains to let water off?
Well, they said it's essentially a giant beaver dam.
So here's my issue. We just jumped straight to we're going to go into this other, apparently lawfully sovereign lord and just blow his shit up. Like,
Why not? He's stealing our water.
As
Well-
we want us to.
here's the thing, is if he finds out it was us, he's probably going to take offense, and he has, like, an army, and we do not have an army.
The
We
Squelcher
do-
Lord does in fact have an army. All three of the men confirm that, and some contingent of this army is stationed at the dam to ensure that nobody messes with it. These
So-
three men are not the only enemies the Squelcher Lord has made in his own territory.
Evie, we don't have an army, but we do have werewolves.
No, we don't. They said they would not fight for us, and there's not that many of them, and they're old. What we do have is we do have a writ of ownership over this land from the Aslan king that he apparently likes. So,
What if
do
we
you want to
just
try
kill-
I
diplomacy?
what if
mean,
we just kill the Squelcher Lord?
I don't feel like we could just walk in and start blowing his shit up without talking to him first. Like, it seems like this guy's just a jerk who is going to be our enemy anyway, but
Evie?
he can't go. We can't leave him open to just say, "Hey, look, Duchess Evelyn came into my territory and started blowing my shit up," and have him go tattle to Aslan.
Evie, you want to be less like Ruby, right? What's the one thing that you do that Ruby doesn't do?
Stab
You
things.
stab first.
No,
Doc-
she doesn't.
Doc speaks up. He says, it's a moot point. These dynamite sticks, they're not going to perform as advertised. And he looks up to the other two men. Says, what's the harm? We'll wait for rain. We'll lead the Duchess and her company in. They can see the size of this dam itself. Then they can make a decision on how they want to proceed. Just because I'm willing to throw my life away on this nonsense doesn't mean that they ought to.
For what it's worth, you should have a little more faith in the Vistani. They're not as bad as you think.
You don't know the Vistani as well as we do.
What has the Vistani done to you?
The Vistani haven't done anything directly to any of these three men, but they know your company by reputation, and they know that you're not natives to Darkon, which means you don't know the Vistani. That's their take on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to dispute that, but I'm just going to point out we have had positive dealings with the Vistani since we've been here.
Everybody has positive dealings with the Vistani before they have negative dealings with them.
That's true of everybody. You had positive dealings with the Squelcher Lord before you had negative dealings with the Squelcher Lord.
At that, Dox
that's kind of a...
grabs a wineskin sitting next to him, pops the cork out of it, takes a deep, deep draught, but he doesn't respond otherwise. So, is that agreeable to everybody? They will lead you through the next rain, let you get eyes on this dam for yourself, see what you're up against, and then make a decision?
Yeah.
Do you charge them for stealing 2 of the Duchess's hairs?
No. They shared with us.
Victor once again poses to Evie that invite them to the village. They could be useful.
Well, yeah, obviously you men have, experience farming. As it happens, we're looking to start establishing a vineyard ourselves, and someone with experience would be very invaluable to us, and there would be a great deal of profit to be made.
You get partway through this explanation, and the look on Dox's face becomes very sour and sad, and you realize you're offering these men, or Dox at least, something that he shared with his family that he wanted to pass on, and now they're all gone. He can't.
All their families are dead.
He can't make use of this thing you want to give him. The younger men are listening more agreeably, but they would probably like to discuss this after they've blown a hole in this dam.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Dox has become convinced one way or another he doesn't see him getting out of this alive, and he's just fine with that. So I'm going to show you guys the dam, and that's where we'll end the session, so you guys can stew over it for a week. I cannot believe I found... Like, every once in a while for Flumph, I find what I believe is, like, the perfect map. Because usually it's in the ballpark, right? And in the ballpark's usually good enough for maps I'm not making myself. I don't ask the moon and the stars. I found the perfect map for this dam.
Is it perfectly circular?
No.
This damn dam.
The damn dam.
That's
wow.
perfect.
So...
Wait a minute.
This is dam 24 by 48.
Okay, never mind. I thought this was a... Because I remember the last time our party went to a dam, and it wasn't this.
No.
We did a war crime.
So
when we went to the dam.
We did do a war crime then.
It is basically an oversized beaver dam. Doesn't have any sophisticated off-flows or anything. If it floods, it floods. You get the sense that the thing is constantly breaking and being repaired. You can see why it needs to be manned around the clock. And some water is getting through. It rains the next day. They lead you up through the water, through the riverbed, up through the mists. You arrive in a land that looks much like your own, but is a lot more rugged and a lot less forested. And after about a day of travel, you do see a trickle of water coming down the center of the riverbed until it flows something like you think your stream in your village ought to flow. And for a few hours, you let yourself think, well, then the dam must have already been broken because this is already flowing pretty well. When you see the scale of the dam, you see that what's coming through is only a trickle, and what's on the other side is a huge artificial lake. But it is functionally just hundreds and hundreds of logs stacked up and thrown across. And there are 2 guard towers. One up here at the north edge and one down here at the south edge, partially covered by trees, both of which are manned by some number of the Squelcher Lord's guardsmen. So here's what you have to think about for next week. If you approach these men in peace, announcing yourself and your titles and whatnot, really good chance that you will be met in kind as regards to your station. They're not going to open fire on neighboring nobles coming for a visit. On the other hand, if you immediately decide to attack and neutralize one or both of these guard towers, so you can start throwing sticks of dynamite. And do we have a fireball spell? Is there fireball in the works now?
There is.
Okay.
Yeah.
No one in this party knows fireball. What are you talking about?
That could get very dicey very quickly. So you have 2 courses of action open to you on how you want to approach these guard towers. And we'll pick that up next week.
Okay.
It's going to be dicey regardless. Let's just be honest.
Now, might be a spoiler, but... And you guys haven't met him yet. But maybe I need to brace your expectations. There is a good possibility that the Squelcher Lord is the most unpleasant NPC I've ever designed.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, Dick Road.
Wow.
You say that after having given it grace us with Denny's presence.
Denny was just a jerk and a bully. And then he died, and nobody cared.
Well, he died after not dying.
I'm just saying, I've had a lot of jerks and bullies in my... You wait till you meet this guy. This guy's a real piece of work.
So he's a petulant adult, is what you're saying.
I think you'll agree he's the most unpleasant NPC. We didn't do any combat this session.
No, we didn't.
I told Edmont that I was not going to stop his companions from killing him if he went full werewolf.
I don't think any of us would kill him.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, if it came
He
to
might
that.
kill us.
So I'm going to step away for 2 minutes, take a short break while you guys think about some blips. I will be right back.
All right.
Who's the most creative today?
Victor for bringing the torture equipment out in front of the keep and making a bonfire of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was a good idea. You could also make the argument for that for party goals, but
I want Edmont for intangibles for the whole, can I use my skills?
Listen,
yeah.
that was complete foresight on my part, because I was like, you know what? I just realized something. If that's the case, then I should probably stop that from happening.
Who did further the party's goals?
Use up all your key points before
That
the
was
full
Victor
moon.
for the...
Oh,
For
well, then
the-
who is... We're giving him both?
No, that was... And intangibles was... No.
We only did creative so far.
Oh, we only did creative? Oh, party goals. I
was going to say Victor for party goals for doing the whole shepherd joining our thing, but...
I'm going to say Ekon or Evie for administration of the... I'm going to say Ekon for the trial. For further, like, administering law and things like that, and getting that kind of hammered out.
Ekon's been itching to hold a trial literally the whole time we've been here.
This is what he wants to
Not
do.
even
He's
joking.
like, that's what he wants. That's what he does for fun.
All
He
right,
judges people.
who is a badass?
Evie
did threaten to cut that guy's tongue out.
That's what I was going to do. Evie for threatening to cut that guy's tongue out if he didn't be quiet. That was amusing. And then intangibles is Edmont for...
Realizing that my own class features would be the death of you.
Yeah.
I would have really liked to see the werewolf shadow stuff.
I did not even consider that.
I didn't either.
And I am slightly angry at you that you would give Brick Road that fuel. Did you see where I posted the what infusions I have up in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Once I get Hallow, we can make an area with permanent daylight.
Oh dear.
And then Bricker did not post a straw poll, so
You get to yell.
I can
at
also
him.
make an area with a permanent zone of truth.
that would be interesting. We could just put that in the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I do have the alchemy jug. Destil, help me remember to actually use it when we got lots of downtime like that. I forgot to do that this time. Because I could
stockpile acid.
Well, it could be acid, poison,
mayonnaise,
honey, beer, wine.
I mean, I could do stuff with poison.
It's not good poison.
It's basic poison. Because we got an alchemy jug in our game last night, and you can make like some amount of beer. And one of our players was like, "Can we make whiskey instead?" I'm like, well, you can make basic poison. That's kind of what whiskey is. It's like the same thing.
Well, remember we had the discussion on how much beer does it take to kill a man last campaign, and we came to the conclusion that 2 men could be incredibly blasted but not dead at the end of that.
What is it? It's 4 gallons, isn't it? Yeah, 4 gallons of beer. Ugh.
Yeah.
If somebody asked you, like, you have to drink this 4 gallons of beer or eat this gallon of mayonnaise.
We also figured out how many calories are in a gallon of mayonnaise.
You'd be like, man, just give me the acid.
Yeah, just.
We're gonna need a lot of gold plate pieces because I'm gonna be casting a lot of Hallows.
All right.
I don't even know what that spell does.
Who wants to make a case for some blips?
I can go.
Genie.
Got it good. When in doubt, go with your gut for the to get further information, you're gonna have to do the next step is autopsy. Yeah, okay, we can go with that. I'll sign that waiver. No hesitation.
Go with your gut. Well, your gut didn't go anywhere. Your gut stayed
right
in the same
place.
place.
Right where it was.
Despite my best efforts.
My ideal practical solution to impractical problems for over-engineering the Giggle Dungeon. You asked me, like, no hesitation there either. Like, how is it? Yeah, it's like both arms, both legs, and across the neck. Although I did not take into account the shadow teleportation, the fatal flaw of every werewolf Giggle Dungeon.
So how do you guys feel that McDohl saw that weeks ago?
I told him exactly how I feel.
He did.
I saw it about 30 seconds before he said I cast darkness. Actually, I was mostly worried that there was going to be a shadow inside of the tunnel that he could teleport into.
That's exactly what I was going to go for, too.
And my flaw, don't worry about it, it was just a setback for sailing up the river denial.
How's that going for you?
Great.
It's fine so far, and I'm pretty sure this will not blow up at all in Genie's face.
Sure.
Man, Edmont's walking behind you sure would be a shame if he turned into a werewolf.
Genie will shoot you. I've already told you that the only person she actually probably loves is Evie.
Aw.
And then the video.
And who's next?
Evie can go.
Evie.
Oh. You mess with my family, you mess with me for her conversation with Tenny. I must become a leader that others can believe in for kind of taking charge of the problem with the false Aethar. And flaw no one understands for bitch queen Evelyn.
At least there wasn't a Skywriter this time.
She's absolutely putting that on her monogram slippers.
The
bitch queen.
The traitor queen, that's right. I remember that. That was delightful.
What was it was like starve out the traitor queen or something?
Yeah.
Alright, who's next?
Victor can go.
What do you got for me?
So alignment ends justify the means. That would be freeing and feeding the shepherd to try and make him more comfortable so that we can get information.
Okay.
For seeking the truth no matter the cost, that would be finding the people that had abused the goat herder and punishing them accordingly so that we actually had a goat herder in the village now.
Victor went to a lot of lengths to recruit this goat herder to his cause.
He's trying to make friends since this whole thing started. And then for flaw values, knowledge over people, that would be supporting Ekon's rig trial just to see how the population responded.
Middling response, I would say. And who's next?
I can go.
Ekon.
Flaw, I'm sure there has to be something good just over that next hill for the decision. Yeah, well, let's just cut her open and see what's inside. See what makes her tick.
Was there anything good?
No, there wasn't. That's why it's a flaw. Ideal, give me a reason for trying to get to a place with, what was it, Pokon?
Tech, the goat herder?
No,
the false Aethar.
Okon?
Pukeen.
Pokeen. Yeah, for trying to get to a place with Pokeen where he could, in good conscience, bring him around and not, like, to punish him for something that apparently wasn't really intentional, like, trying to see the good in him, basically. And then lawful good, the shining words of air laid on a path for us all for finally being able to have the trial he's wanted. Wanted to try Denny, wanted to try that werewolf.
Do you think they're all going to go that smoothly for you?
Oh, yeah.
It's like Genie has a machine fetish. Ekon has a trial fetish.
Ekon's like, trials are always smooth when you know the outcome before you start.
Damn, dude.
I mean, when feudalism, you can always know the outcome before it starts.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whatever you say it is.
And what does Edmont have for me today?
I have my alignment lawful neutral. Take everything you can, give nothing back, for being really insistent on getting that ring back.
Did you get that ring back?
I did.
Okay.
I have my ideal life as my canvas, and I'll make my mark on it for really taking to this goat herding stuff and trying to make sure that we have food for the winter, because that's important.
As long as you like goat.
Yeah.
A little gamey.
And I am changing my flaw given the events of this session, but I don't know to what yet.
Well, I will leave it blank, and as long as you tell me what it is before our session starts next week, I will be happy to start awarding it to you next week.
Sure.
In addition, I'm awarding everybody one blip, because we successfully navigated 3 fairly complicated role-playing conflicts in the village. And nobody got hurt coming out the other side of it. Except for Tenny's feelings.
Also, maybe a little psychic damage.
Who had the most creative solution to a problem?
That was Victor, for the idea to publicly have a bonfire with the torture implements.
Okay. And who did the most to further the party's goals?
That was that Ekon for the for his trial and the matters of law. And Ekon wanting to be law and order over here. Dun dun.
And who was the badass?
That was Evie for telling that man to be quiet or she'd cut his tongue out.
Okay.
You'd have done it too.
And Intangibles was McDohl for
being evil.
Shadowstone Werewolf.
For knowing an exploit that he could use to get out of the dungeon, but keeping it to himself.
The rest of you can testify that after the session where he got bit, after we went dark, we had a conversation about it was his decision on how werewolf we wanted to go. And he was like all the way werewolf. And I was like, okay. And then
all the way werewolf.
Another week later, he sends me a message saying, by the way, I can shadow step and these nerds don't know about it. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, I sent the message, it's like, oh shit, like this is a thing that could probably come up, and I wanted to know how hard to go with it.
Now, obviously, I can't read into your state of mind in plain text. But I read it as like, oh, I'm totally into this. Like, I can't wait. Because shifting to being a bastard the next time the full moon comes out, that's a strong statement. And I'm here for it. I appreciate it.
I'm here for it too. I hope everyone else is here for it.
Well,
It's fine.
Whether they're here for it or not, it's coming.
I mean, Jeannie's not here for it. She's in the next county.
Right. She's
True.
like hunkered.
Really true.
She's bricked herself up into a fireplace on the other side of the village. Edmont has our straw poll for the week. And
Hey.
I awarded everybody a blip for their part in all of the social interactions.
I mean, do I really deserve a blip? I just brandished my gun a lot.
It worked.
Okay, I'll accept
That's
it.
what the people like.
Listen, when I award these communal blips, it's all or nothing. Either everybody gets it or nobody gets it. So if you want to
So
talk
if
yourself out of everybody getting a blip, I won't lose sleep over it.
I'm not going to do that because
What are blips worth right now?
We are level 7, yes? So blips are worth 366. Let me make sure that my spreadsheet added this up properly, because I'm saying here that everybody got 5 blips, and it's rare that everybody gets the exact same amount in a session. But I think
really?
that's
I had.
I took.
Did you remember the video, Treble?
Yeah, and everybody got 1 for the session.
So that's 5 for me because I took all 3
Yeah,
of
5 for
mine
me.
plus.
And you're all sitting on 6.
I took 2 plus the straw poll.
So you guys are
bonus
rolling all those 5 blips over. Excellent work.
366 each.
And so for next
1830 by
session,
my math.
you can figure out what you want to do about this dam.
Yeah. Do I need to have like a? Do I need to give a lecture on like water pressure and what it will do? That's a lot of water.
All right, well, I'll let you work on putting together your PowerPoint or your TED Talk or wwhatever for next week.
Huh?
And for now, we'll say thank you guys for playing. See you next Sunday.
Later.
Cheers.
And